Freefrommers, and apologies for the break. I've really been quite unwell and so lack of video. So today I'm going to make two videos in one. So this is going to be two versions of cookies, and the first cookies we're looking at are blueberry cookies that look particularly tasty. The second version is a lemon cookie. Let's get cookieing. Okay, so this recipe I found on Pinterest, and it's through tastyyummies.com, and they are called grain-free blueberry almond breakfast cookies. So they look delicious, so we're going to give them a go. And since I've been poorly, what you want is something yummy, and cookies are yummy, so let's give them a go. I've never made these before, so it's going to be interesting. We've got the oven on 350 as usual, so the usual gas 180 for a regular oven, 160 for a fan. So that's that. Got a baking sheet with paper on it, well, with the silicone sheet that I use. And in this bowl we have 2 cups of ground almonds or almond flour, okay? So your almonds are in the bowl, 2 cups. Then we're going to be using a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. Then we're going to put 1 teaspoon of bicarbonate soda, baking soda, in there. And we're going to give it a good mix. Then we want to add about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, so it's not very much. So I'm just going to go for a little sprinkle of salt there. Now it does say that you could do this in the food processor, but I haven't bothered, I've just done it in a bowl. So you could do it in either. So we've got the almonds, the salt, the cinnamon, the baking soda, and now we're going to put in 1/4 cup of coconut oil. You can use ghee or butter for this if you wanted to, but we're going to use coconut oil today. And we're going to put 3 tablespoons of honey into the mix. Now the recipe does call for 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, but I'm not going to be using vanilla extract because I've got my vanilla infused honey. So I'm just going to be using the vanilla honey and skipping the vanilla extract. That's 1. So that's 3 tablespoons of honey, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, but I'm using the vanilla infused honey. So we give that a good mix. Now because I've hand mixed this, it isn't coming to a dough like it says it should in the recipe. So I'm going to pop it in the food processor just to see if it's going to make it into a dough. Okay, so I've done it in the food processor and it hasn't turned it into a dough. Now I'm a bit concerned because it's so crumbly. Although I can press it together, I've got to add in half a cup of sliced almonds and the blueberries. And I'm a bit worried they're not going to hold together, that they're just going to crumble apart when you eat them. So what do we do? Okay, so what I've decided to do is I'm going to do a test cookie. Okay, so the test cookie is already crumbling. We're going to put it in the oven and see what happens. So because I didn't put the vanilla extract in, I've added another 10 ml of water because we lost that liquid by not putting the vanilla extract in, just to try and make the dough a bit wetter. It's definitely made it wetter. You wouldn't think that 10 ml of liquid would make a big difference, but it has. It's made it a lot less crumbly. Maybe that was the issue. Okay, so I'm going to leave the test cookie in, and it'll still be yummy. Who doesn't love a test cookie? So now we're going to add in a whole cup of blueberries. So it's quite a lot really. I've left them in the freezer so that they don't bleed into this mixture and kind of turn it all grey and purple. Okay, so we're going to transfer this into the mix. Just mix it about till they're evenly distributed across the cookie mix, and then we're just going to scoop little balls. And pop them on here while we're waiting for the test cookie. It's quite a lumpy mixture with the blueberries and the flaked almonds, so it's a bit tricky to get together. I think maybe dried blueberries would be better. This is a nightmare. Okay, so I've managed to get 3, 6, 9, 12 cookies there. They were not easy to do, and I've still got all this mixture left, but I'm struggling to get them into balls because the ratio of cookies to mixture just isn't enough. It needs to be like half a cup of blueberries. So I'm going to do just a whole cookie in a tray instead. This way I can press it all together and then cut it into bars when it's done. It's probably going to take longer to cook that way. So we're just going to press it into shape. This isn't how I envisaged this video going, but this is what happens when you've not made something before. You can see that the blueberries are just sitting on their own. I think this might end up getting sprinkled over porridge. Okay, we're going to leave it at that. Okay, this is the test cookie. It's been in the oven 10 minutes. Now the recipe says bake for 8 to 10 minutes. So we're just going to hold it gently because it's very, very crumbly, and just look at the underneath. So you can see it's cooked underneath, it's cooked on the top. 10 minutes is the longer side of the cooking time, so probably a little bit less. So I'm going to let that cool now because it does say in the recipe that it will fall to pieces if I try and eat it or move it. And it does actually say to cool in the refrigerator for 15 minutes before you do anything with it. So I'll let that cool now, and then we can pop the others in. Okay, so the other cookies are still in the oven. They're quite big and quite round, like golf ball size almost. So I've turned the temperature down. I'm going to cook them for a little bit longer because they've been in for 10 minutes and they're catching on the outside, but they're not cooked on the inside. The cookie slab is going to take longer, so we're just going to taste the test cookie and see what that's like. It's quite chewy. It is a little bit dry, but not as dry as I thought it was going to be. The sliced almonds in there give it a nice texture. So it's going to be interesting to see what the blueberries do, because they're going to bring some juiciness to it. And potentially make them like little cookie cake balls. It's nice. Test cookie, it's good. Okay, so I've just taken out the cookies from the oven. I'll show you them. So you see they're very much like balls. I haven't dared squash them down anymore because they're so full of ingredients and stuff, they're just going to fall apart. And there's nothing in there that I desperately need to be cooked. These could be eaten raw because there's no egg in them or anything. So I'm just going to leave them as they are. And if they're uncooked in the middle, I think that'll just add to the chewiness. So I'm going to let them cool and see what they taste like. Okay, so the second recipe we're going for is again from Pinterest, and it's from paleogrubs.com, and they're called mind-blowing lemon cookies. So let's see how mind-blowing they actually are. Okay, so for the ingredients here, in here I've got what was 1 cup of shredded coconut. Now some of it was coconut flakes, so I decided to blitz it, but I toasted them first. So it's kind of shrank considerably. And it looks more like half a cup because I think I started turning it into coconut butter. But we're going to leave it as it is, so they might be a bit wetter than they would if you just used a whole cup of shredded coconut. I didn't have a whole cup of shredded coconut, that was the problem. I had half a cup and I topped it up with flakes. Anyway, let's see what happens. So you should use 1 cup of shredded coconut. So I'll put that in the food processor just because I'm tired now, so I'm going to do it in the food processor. To that we are going to add 2 cups of almonds, so ground almonds or almond flour. There we go, so there's 2 cups there of ground almonds. We are going to add 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. So just sprinkle that across, and then we're going to blitz it. So that's all combined. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Now don't die of shock, I'm using a fresh lemon, not the frozen lemon. 1, 2. Okay. And then 2 teaspoons of lemon zest. So I've just had a small lemon here, and I've just grated it and juiced it. And it's about the right amount. Now we're going to add 1/4 cup of butter. I've just melted and softened it. I've used butter instead of coconut oil this time, just to give a different flavour to the cookies. Obviously you can use coconut oil, and it does say so in the recipe for coconut oil, but I've decided to go with butter. And then we're going to add 1/3 cup of honey. The recipe states maple syrup, but on the SCD plan we don't use maple syrup, so we're going with honey. Now I'm not using my vanilla flavoured honey here because this recipe doesn't call for vanilla extract, so I'm going to hold back and just use regular. So we've got almonds, baking soda, shredded coconut, honey, butter, lemon zest, lemon juice. Let's blitz it. Well, now that didn't take long at all. And there we have a lovely ball of dough. It's not too wet. It is quite sticky though. Right, so it does actually say in the recipe to put this in the fridge for 30 minutes, and because it's so sticky, I am going to do that. Okay, so while we're refrigerating the lemon cookies, I'm going to do the cheeky taste test for the blueberry cookies. Now, I hope you can see in there that I've chose a small one and a big one, okay? So small one has got big cracks in it, and it's a bit like a rock cake. And this one is just like a giant rustic cookie. See, it's not burnt on the bottom, which is always good. Don't want things to be burnt on the bottom. So let's do a cheeky taste test of them both to see what they're like. So we'll go for the small one first and see what it's like. Chewy, but not too chewy. Lovely texture. You can get that hint of salt coming through. Even though I only put a tiny bit in, you just get occasionally a flavour of it. Now they're not really sweet, so if you want them sweeter, then I suggest you add more honey. The burst of flavour from the blueberry, as it holds its shape and it's got all the liquid inside it for the blueberry, it just bursts in your mouth, which is lovely. So it's another texture that comes into the cookie. So you've got the crispiness, the crunchiness, the chewiness, the juiciness. You know, what more could you want in a cookie, really? Sounds like a meal. Very good. And when you're feeling ill, isn't it just lovely to have something yummy to eat? And outside of it, it's a little bit crunchy. I didn't plan on eating all of this. I only planned on having a bite. That's really, really nice. Okay, so we're going for the bigger one now. Now this has got a lot more density to it, I would say. I'm going to break it in half first. Okay, let's see what it tastes like. Quite different. Very different. Softness inside of the cookie mixture that's not kind of like got that crispiness, obviously. It's a different texture, it's lovely and soft. So very different. So if you want more of a crunchy, chewy cookie, go for smaller ones. The mixture is difficult to get together. I really struggled and didn't enjoy it so much that I decided for the rest of the mixture, do you know what, I'm just going to put it in a tray. And I've had a fabulous idea for that, you know. Watch. See this? If you broke this up into ice cream, oh yeah, crunchy, chewy, blueberry ice cream, I'll have some of that. So, that is the blueberry cookies. They're a lot better than I thought they were going to be. Really good. Okay, so we're back with the lemon mixture for the cookies. It's been in the fridge for half an hour and it's a lot less sticky than it was, so that's good. It's going to make it easier to handle, and it says take tablespoons of the dough, roll it into balls and put it on the cookie sheet. So let's do that. So I'm just going to measure out first of all, and then I'm going to roll them into balls. Okay, so we've got them all in balls. If I'd have actually thought about this, I'd have made this mix first, put it in the fridge for 30 minutes and then made the other cookies while these were cooling. But that's what happens when you've not made stuff before. So we've got quite a lot of cookies here, which is good. So we're just going to flatten them down. So they're all flattened. They're quite thick, but I don't think they're going to change too much in shape and size. So they're probably about 1/4 inch thick, maybe a bit more. In the recipe it doesn't say how thick they should be. It just says pat them down a little. Right, so on this sheet I've left some deliberately thicker. So this one's probably 1/2 inch thick. So we're going to leave it that thick because that's patted down a little. So the others I'm going to pat down more because I really don't think they're going to spread. Don't see why they should. So we'll do the cheeky taste test at the end and compare the thick and the thinner. And we're back in the oven at 350, same temperature as the other cookies. And we're going in at the oven for 10 minutes again. Right, so we had the timer on for 10 minutes in the oven for these, and there's some at the back that have just caught. See those at the back? Now, my oven is actually crooked, and I'm not sure if that's what causes it to bake unevenly, but this was closest to the door. So perhaps turning them halfway through would be a good idea if your oven tends to do this. Because the one right at the front there, you can see that it's not really burnt at all. So it's just a little golden brown around the edges. That's kind of what you're going for, not this darker colour. So that is a little bit burnt, to be honest. But the vast majority of them are okay. Now the thicker one, they haven't spread like I thought they weren't going to. So here we've got the thicker ones that we just pressed down a little, so the consistency of those is going to be different as well. So I'm going to let those cool and then do the final cheeky taste test. So here we are, back with the cookies that have cooled, and we're going to do cheeky taste test. So I'm going to choose one that is about 1/4 inch thick and see what it tastes like. Nice and soft, lemony. Oh, lemon's lush. Coconut's there, gives a different texture to it. These are good, really good, really tasty. Nice balance between the sweet and the lemony, sourness, sharpness. It's just lovely. For me, I like wet food, so I would like something on these, like a lemon cream or something like that. I'm going to freeze these. I think the texture of them, when they're frozen and they're hard, I'll really enjoy because I like that. But if you like a soft cookie, these are definitely good. The thicker ones, I've got a good cook on the bottom, and you can see in the middle that they're not quite cooked all the way through. So we're going to see what it's like. It's nice and moist, obviously. Oh, okay. So it's like this. It's not a gooiness, but there's definitely a moisture to it. Oh, that's nice. And it tastes more lemony. Oh, this is a tough call. If I was to make these again, I think I would make them thick like these. So I'd go for the 1/2 inch and just press them down a little bit, not all the way, because the lemony flavour in this and the moistness is lovely. It's more enjoyable to me personally than the flatter, thinner cookie. So there you go. I prefer these in the cheeky taste test, but these are good too. They'll all get eaten anyway, but if I make these again, definitely do them thick. So I hope you enjoy the cookies if you make them. Like, comment, share, and I'll see you next time in the kitchen.